You just do not notice that we are gifted just for being humans. We are absolute predators. We do not even have any enemies. Maybe there's an animal that's watching us, thinking that someday we will be them.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Toonami Squad Sessions. I'm Berserk, and I'll be your host today.
I'm Sam.
And I'm followed by Sam as the Universe on Twitter. And today we have a very special edition of the podcast. Can you introduce yourself, kind sir?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I'm Adam Gibbs. I've just finished playing the voice of Shinichi for you in Parasite.
That's lovely. Is there any other roles we might be familiar with you?
Well, I've done quite a few. A lot of them are listed online. But I've played a lot of small parts in some recent things. But one that I'm most proud of is the redubbing of Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah.
I did some of the Starship Trooper stuff. I did Captain Harlock. Just a handful of shows.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Before we get into the Parasite questions, I would like you to ask a few questions so that the audience can get to know you about, more so on your creative influences.
Yeah, sure.
What are your favorite movies, shows, plays, or maybe even musicals that influenced you as an artist?
Yeah, so I'm very much influenced by kind of that whole musical world. That's my degree's in musical theater. That's kind of what I've done my whole life. I started out very, very young. I was a munchkin in The Wizard of Oz when I was 5.
Adorable.
Yeah, when I was 5 years old at my community theater. So I definitely have a lot. That's primarily my background. That kind of prepared me for the world of voice acting. But yeah, I mean, it's my tastes are so eclectic. I definitely have favorite plays and favorite movies and musicals and things like that. But they all, I don't know, they all kind of come together to kind of inform me. It's not necessarily a particular project or particular one particular thing. It's really just what speaks to me on a kind of a deeper level.
Any examples?
God, let me think. I just got done working on a new musical here in Houston that called The Sweet Potato Queens. That was a great pleasure to work with some really talented cast. That's not quite as deep or moving, but it's a great fun. That's kind of been that's where my head has been most recently. But yeah, God.
I heard you've been very busy with your shows. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been really great lately. Yeah, I've had great fortune. I've moved back to Houston about just over a year ago, and Houston has been very kind to me since I've been back. It's been a great pleasure, and Houston is definitely my community. It's my home. It's where many of my family and friends are, and it's definitely where I consider home. So it's nice to be in a community where you feel wanted and appreciated, and the work is here for me. So I've been very honored to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have is there any actor who's been the biggest influence on you creatively?
There are so many. I often find myself leaning towards a lot of actors who who have backgrounds on the stage, but have also kind of broken into the world of voice acting or film or television. Kind of big time actors, Daniel Day-Lewis, things like that, who really have the chops, as it were.
Very deep acting.
Kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I really appreciate. But if I had to name one actor, it'd probably be Mark Rylance.
Wow.
He's, just brilliant. He's brilliant in everything he does. Yeah, I mean, he definitely, has a great background in stage, but certainly, stays busy otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
he's probably the top of my list.
that's excellent.
Yeah.
If I could ask something.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
What made you get into voice acting?
Well, several of my friends who were working in theater were also working in the voiceover studio, and I'd heard that it's something that may be a good fit for me, and it just kind of worked out that a show came through where they needed just a ton of guys, and so I kept hearing, hey, they're going to call you in, they're going to call you in, they're going to call you in, and it's pretty typical to be called in for an hour session, and you'll play some smaller parts and kind of do some voila and, kind of essentially audition and see what kind of fit it is. And that's exactly what happened. I got called in. Stephen Foster was my first director, and he brought me in quite a bit in the beginning, and so I was able to kind of come in and, I don't know, prove myself, I guess, and just let the company know that I took it very seriously, and I'm a very hard worker and all these things, and that I could be an asset to their company, and fortunately it's been a mutual kind of benefit. I've been able to help them out, but they've also clearly very much helped me out as well. Yeah, so it's just been a great. I've had a very nice relationship with Sentai, and they've kept me very busy, which is nice.
All right. Would there be any plans of you expanding your horizons past Sentai, or are you good with Sentai right now?
Well, I'm always happy to be working. So whoever's going to hire me, that's who I'd love to work with. But Sentai is here in Houston, so it is very a very kind of familial environment. But in terms of other companies, Funimation is probably the closest. I'd love to get to work with them as well, as a good handful of Houstonians do get some work up there. But it's as much as I would love to get over there, and hopefully at some point I will get up to Dallas, up to that area, and get a little work with them. It's there are only so many hours in the day, and fortunately it's been a good problem for me. I've been very busy, so to have the luxury to get out of town and to go up to Dallas has been my schedule hasn't really quite allowed it. But I think when the time is right, if all goes well, I'll find my way up there as well. But yeah, me being local in Houston, beyond Sentai, it's a little more limited. So a lot of the bigger markets and on the East and West Coasts, you're not really going to go in for a lot of that kind of work. But yeah, so I guess to answer your question, I'd be happy to go beyond Sentai and other companies, but it's kind of what's at my disposal immediately, and where the vacancies are, and I'm always willing to work for whoever wants to
If you had
hire
a
me.
body double, because there's only so many hours in the day.
Exactly. I'd have one guy, do all my chores and take care of all the boring stuff I have to do, and then I would just do all the fun things I want to
Exactly.
do.
I was wondering, what are your favorite type of roles to play?
Really, whoever's hiring, whatever role I get to play, I enjoy the role I'm working on. But in terms of my favorite roles are the ones where I get to kind of do a big span. So it's, as much as I love to play like a really goofy, over-the-top character, I also love to play a more serious, kind of moving kind of character as well. So
Characters with depth.
yeah, right.
Characters
So
with depth who eventually change throughout the story.
yes. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a personal problem I have, but I feel like anytime I'm just never happy. It's like if I'm working on a really goofy character, I'm having such a great time, but by the end of it, I'm ready to play, a deeper role. but the same goes when I'm playing a deeper role. By the end of it, I'm ready to do something a little more light and fun. So, you know, as long as I kind of have the balance, it ends up working out pretty well, I think. But yeah, I mean, no matter the role, I mean, I always have a great time in the booth. I always have a good time working with the guys and gals at Sentai, and you know, it's a good time. It's a really good time.
Perfect segue. Let's move on
Yeah,
to the parasite questions.
yeah, yeah.
Is there any scene that you're particularly proud of?
Um, well, you know, it's tough to say, you know, one particular scene. I'm such a crazy person, you know, I listen to myself and I have a hard time focusing on, you know, I have a hard time congratulating myself on the good work I've done rather than focusing on, oh, I don't like the way that sounded. Oh, I didn't like the way that sounded. Oh,
You're
I
your
didn't like that.
harshest critic.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I'm the same
So,
way.
I can
yeah,
totally understand that.
right. You know, and I think that's kind of natural. I think that's
Yeah,
how we all generally feel.
yeah,
Um,
because I draw and I'm
yeah,
very critical about my own drawings, and
Same here. Whenever someone
yeah,
tells me, "Oh, that's really great," I'm like, well, look
yeah,
at this over here and that over
yeah,
there. I could have done that a little bit better.
yeah, yeah. But you know, I mean, I think there's a certain positive, you know, there's a positive, negative side to that. You know, we always want to be better, but that's what makes us better. You know, striving to be better. So yeah, it's really just overall. I mean, it's just been a real honor to get to be a part of a show like this that did get, you know, that did receive so much attention, and you know, I must admit I was reluctant to get on with Twitter,
Yeah,
but when this project came about, you know, it's like, ah, you should probably kind of get out there and you know, let people know how much you appreciate their positive feedback, and you know, to kind of reach out and use social media a little more. So I've tried my best to kind of to make that happen, but yeah, it's just to have been able to have my name a part of it and to work with so many of the other, you know, kind of great performers on the show was just a real honor, a real treat.
yeah, I think you did a fantastic job in the
same
entire
here.
series.
Thank you very much.
You really were a highlight of that show.
Oh, well, that's very sweet of you guys. Thank you. It was, you know, it was definitely a challenge, as it always is. But I don't know, with you know, I've kind of said this before in interviews, but you know, I try to approach each role differently, even if it's a similar voice that I use. But you know, I kind of try to find that in between where it's not completely, you know, it's not some farcical, over the top, crazy thing, but it's not super, super, ultra real like I would, you know,
Yeah,
filming some real, you know, television or film kind of thing. So I try to find kind of that in between land that, you know, that is anime, and that, you know, where it's not just normal life. It's a little more heightened, you know. Um, so yeah, so this was a good chance for me to kind of try to find that in between, and I really, what I loved was I guess what I'm most proud of with the role was, you know, he kind of makes that turn as he kind of changes early on from, you know, I'm hesitant to say the word nerd, as though I'm a proud nerd myself.
nerd's positive nowadays.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
It's hip to be a
exactly.
nerd.
There you go. Amen, amen. So you know how he kind of made that change to a little more cool guy, you know, that kind of change that he makes. So yeah, I guess I was kind of proud to get to try to differentiate that a little bit. You know, hopefully that kind of shined through a bit, but yeah,
Absolutely.
If I could ask,
yeah.
have you seen Parasite before this?
You know, I was familiar with Parasite. You know, I hadn't really delved into it as much. I mean, I know that it's been around for ages. But when I heard that I'd booked the project, you know, I tried to find as much of it as I could, you know, subtitled, and I don't know. I kind of I try not to immerse myself so much in it before I get there, because even if it's a Japanese voice with subtitles, I still want it to be my own performance, so I try not to, you know, if I immerse myself too
You don't
much in what
want
someone.
to emulate the Japanese
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so what I
because you're
do
an
when I,
actor.
right, right, you
Yeah.
know,
So
exactly.
you're gonna play the role yourself.
Right, right. I try to kind of make it my own. So, um, I tried to familiarize myself a little bit, but you know, when you're in the booth, I mean, it's so down and dirty that you fly through it, and you know, it's so much of what I do is just kind of reactionary anyway. And then when I'm in the booth, I kind of let the Japanese voice kind of help guide me as to the mood and the emotion of the scene. But while trying to maintain my own kind of integrity, or not integrity, but you know, my own kind of
Yeah.
style of acting or whatever it is. Yeah.
All right.
I have a question from one of our fellow squad members, Mr. Shadow.
Yeah.
He wants to know, as the series progressed, Shinichi gains the ability to instantly calm down regardless of the situation presented to him. How
hmm
did you tackle changing from going from high emotion to practically none?
You know, I think that goes along with what I was saying before about how it's so quick and it is reactionary. You know, you're familiar with like a cold reading where you're,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. You just do it right away.
yeah, yeah, and it's super common in theater as well, where you know it's a super common audition technique where you're given a scene and you say, here, kind of look over it and do it. Well, that's kind of how it is in the booth, where it's, you know, you've got to jump in and just move and go, and so much of it is just reactionary. You know, you kind of go with what you see on the screen, what you're given, what you hear. In terms of mood. So it's fortunately, you know, I mean, it's what I've been doing my whole life, whether it's, you know, in a small booth or on a stage or wherever. Um, so, you know, for God, almost 25 years now, I have kind of been immersed in just kind of rolling with it, and you know, the whole half of acting is reacting thing, and so to be able to kind of tap into different levels and different emotions at the drop of a hat. You know, I feel like that's kind of what it's all about, while maintaining, you know, some honesty, and that's where I feel like I try to always come from a place of honesty, whether it's, you know, whether it's some whatever the mood, over the top or very real, or on stage or in a booth or whatever. Um, no matter how outlandish or real a character is, I always just try to start from a foundation of honesty and kind of grow from there. Um, so so yeah, I guess that's I guess that's it. A roundabout way.
Yes.
Um,
Go ahead, Sammy.
okay. I was wondering, who's your favorite character in Parasite, not counting your own?
Ooh, that's a good
I
question.
wanted to ask that too.
Yeah, well, you know, I must admit, it's it's really funny working, because so many of the voice actors I work with are friends of mine, you know. So I'm always really honored and excited to get to work with friends of mine. So I gotta say, Andrew, at the very, you know, as he came into the end, Andrew Love,
Yeah.
you know, he's just got such a great way of just coloring the voice, and just that just dark kind of eerie sound, and it's
Right.
you
Creepy.
know, he just, yeah, super creepy, and like, you know, he just, man, yeah, he's so great. So yeah, so I'd probably say, oh, Andrew.
Hmm.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What does it mean for a show you star in to be broadcast on network television like Toonami?
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, honestly, before I didn't, when I booked it, I didn't know that was the core, and certainly when I auditioned for it, I just thought it was just another show, you know. So when I booked it and I got in and I was kind of informed as to how it was actually going to go down, I couldn't believe it. So it's just so it's really crazy, you know. I'm just glad that, you know, that more people. It's not about, oh, people get to hear my voice, you know. It's just that something that I like worked so hard on, and it's like me along with the other voice actors, and the directors and the producer and the all the technicians and
Everyone gets to hear the work that you worked so hard for.
yeah, and it's so many people come together to kind of realize the show that I'm just it's just exciting that as many people as possible get the opportunity to experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the biggest honor for me, I guess.
Go
I
ahead.
actually would like to ask, what was your favorite episode of Parasite?
Ooh, I gotta say probably the season break, um, the kind of the technical end of season one
Mm-hmm.
into season two. Oh man, it's so hard to say because so many of the episodes end with such great like cliffhangers.
Hmm.
That I love that. I know that as a fan and as I'm watching other shows, when I'm left with a cliffhanger, it's just like, oh, you just want to like tear your
Yeah.
hair out almost. But being on the other side of it and knowing what's coming, but I don't know, kind of seeing people's reactions to it and things like that. So yeah, I'd say probably the break between seasons was probably my favorite.
Hmm. And I also kind of want to ask, what are your thoughts behind the philosophy of Parasite?
Do you mind elaborating a little bit? How do you mean the philosophy?
Like what they establish in the show, humans versus parasites, which side is actually bad, or
Yeah.
sort of like the deeper meaning behind all that.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I think it speaks a lot to, and I think what we all can relate to so much is that, whether it's human or parasite or good or evil or whatever it is, I think we all relate to the fact that we're not all black and white. We're not all just one thing. It's a spectrum that we live on, and we don't necessarily live on one spot on that spectrum. We slide up and down the spectrum, back and forth. Um, and so, I feel like just as in the show, you're left to figure out, what it is. Is it good? Is it bad? I feel like that's the daily struggle for all of us as people. Like, what am I doing? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this contributing to, my goals and my dreams and aspirations and things like that. Um, so I really appreciate the kind of, I don't know what's the word. It just kind of forces you to kind of self-evaluate a little bit.
It's
So
ambiguous. It's the ambiguous gray area that we fight every day,
absolutely,
I really,
absolutely,
I
and it
really
is a
enjoy when
challenge.
shows do that because it just means the show is it means well by what it's trying to teach.
Right, right. And it's exactly. So it's like, your good guy isn't necessarily just the good guy and only the good guy, and the bad guy, there's some room there because it's just so much more real that way, because that's the way we are as people rather than, characters.
And to go off of that, how
Yeah.
do you feel about Shinichi's development as a character from the beginning to end?
I like the way he kind of comes into his own and his confidence grows and builds. And I feel like that's something I can relate to. I mean, um, we work on ourselves and we try to be better people and better performers. And it's in this industry, it's really difficult to self-evaluate and feel like you are growing as a performer or as a person. It's hard. It's not like a video game where you level up to level 49 and you did better. In life, it's a little more, again, kind of gray. You don't really know. So I feel like me personally, I'm at a point in my life where I feel very positive about my life, and there are a great many blessings that I have in my life to be thankful for. Um, and with that comes confidence, and I felt that kind of kinship with Shinichi as he kind of grew to be a more confident person. I kind of went along with him, and I hope that I don't know. I hope that other people were able to kind of go on that ride too.
For people who missed Parasite on Toonami, why do
Yeah.
you think they should check it out?
Oh, because it's so much fun and it's so different. It's not to say that. I mean, all animes are kind of created in their own light, and they're not all created equal. But I feel like it's a great story. I feel like it's intriguing. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. For the gore fans out there, there's like a good bit of that as well.
Yeah.
But I just like that it's in a world that is anime, where being different and being out there is the norm. That's kind of the status quo. It's these really crazy concepts and limitless. It's limitless, which is so great, and that's what I love so much about anime. This one, in that world, it's very easy, I feel like, for something different to be lost. And I feel like this is one that fortunately kind of breaks that mold, and I feel like it's unique in its own way, but tells a great story, and there's a lot of fun as it goes as well. And I'm just I'm proud of all my so many of my friends who are in it as well, who I was just really proud of their work as well.
Yeah, and I do agree, because this, out of every show Toonami has picked up, this feels the less like Toonami, but still a Toonami branded show.
Yeah, yeah, it still kind of fits the mold, but is its own kind of thing too. Yeah.
It has action, but it's very deep.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
philosophical.
yeah, because there's so many great action shows, but they're just there for the sake of action, and I feel like
Mhm.
Parasite could very easily have just been an anime that was devoted to like the blood and the guts and the murder and all this, but that's not what it is. That's definitely part of it, but I feel like that's not Parasite.
Yeah.
It is so much deeper than that, and kind of, I don't know, just more.
So wrapping the interview up, anything you would
Yeah.
like to plug?
Um, well, I'm working at Theater Under the Stars right now. In Houston, and we're working on Oliver Twist the musical.
Oh,
So,
lovely. Who do you play?
I'm just in the ensemble. I'm a singer. I'm just kind of singing in the background,
Excellent.
which is perfectly fine for me because it's what I love to do as well. So, so that's what I'm working on. So if anybody's in the Houston area, feel free to come check us out.
Theater Under the Stars.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much, Adam, for taking the
Yeah.
time out of your very visual schedule
Of
to do
course.
this interview with us. We
Yes,
really
thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
Hey, I appreciate I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for
I
taking the
really
time.
hope another show that Toonami picks up, you're in it.
Hey, you and me both.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you and me both. Well, I'm around. So you guys know how to reach out to me, and hopefully I'll be talking to you guys soon.
Yeah. Thank you so
Exactly.
much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Y'all take care. Bye.
Okay, so you can find me at Berserk Fury on Twitter.
And you can find me on Twitter at SZUniverse.
And you can find Adam at Adam and Gibbs on Twitter. And follow us at Toonami Squad on Twitter and toonamisquad.boards.net online. That was a special edition of the Toonami Squad pod sessions. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you guys next time. Bye.
Later.